Hey, hi everyone back home. My name is Mo Moodie. Welcome to the Salt City Index Season 2, where we go around Onondaga County and the greater Syracuse area and we interview influencers and politicians and potential people that are running for candidacy because it is important for us to know what is going on in our back door. So before I introduce today's guest, I would like to say that he has been a long-standing friend of mine since I moved back a second time into the county. I'm very humbled and grateful to have him on the show. He is running for an elected official position, and I'll let him do all the talking for himself. So, big warm welcome to the show to Jason Zeigler. And Jason, say hi and just give everyone back home a little breakdown of who you are and what position you're running for.
Hi, I'm Jason Zeigler. I'm running for Onondaga County Family Court Judge. It's an open seat. There's currently five family court judges. The state is adding a sixth position starting this January.
You're running for a position that's not it's a new position, so there's no incumbent or anyone you're trying to replace. It's just a new seat that you're running for, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, I know that you have a good background, but some of the viewers back home may know nothing about you or anything at all, what you stand for or your platform or what's going on in the area. But I do know that you have represented children in family court for a long time. So maybe what perspectives will you take from that, to the bench once elected as judge?
Say a year or two before I started representing kids, the state had changed. The state court system had kind of changed the aspect of the job. It used to be advocated for what you believe was in the best interest of children. The state changed that. You're now attorney for the child, and so you're advocating for what your client wants. Obviously, if your client's 3 years old, you're essentially substituting judgment, saying, hey, I believe this is the best interest of my client. If you have a 13-year-old and you feel you need to substitute judgment, there are certain rules about that where you have to put that on the record. Mm-hmm. One thing I've noticed is I think there's still a vestige, even though it's been a long time, of the sense that the AFC, the attorney for the child, there's this best interest analysis. And it's like, well, advocating for a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old. So obviously if they're smaller, it's different. But sometimes I think that perspective needs to be there because in a custody case, the parents should not be talking to the children about the custody case. And it's kind of a human reaction. They're talking to the kids, putting the kids in the middle. Yeah. And, the kids, even if they're not, they're always picking up on things. Sometimes it's pretty bad, but, a lot of people, the custody case, they get in there, they kind of figure out where it's going and they move on, they move forward with their lives. With custody, you always come to the fact that these people are going to be dealing with each other and, those kids involved after the court case, so you want to have, ideally a resolution, everybody's practicable, that it's workable, they're not setting them up to fail, it's something they can do. Let's say if the kids in neglect cases kind of similar, is there influence there? Is there, again, trying to influence the kids to say they want to come home, or the kids may want to come home, it's an awkward position for the kids. I've had parents try to pump the kids for information, it might be potential criminal case. And then the delinquency cases, they're kids, they're still kids, they're testing boundaries. Is this hopefully the first and last time this child's going to be in front of the court for a delinquency case? It's very different than a kid who keeps coming back. I think not just the overt influence, but, kind of the unintentional influence on the kids sometimes that, people may exert on the kids without realizing.
I have a good grasp on the wide perspective for being a family court judge because inner workings with children is complex and it's deep, and you have to understand all elements because it's not only the children, right? It's also the parents involved and it's emotions and feelings, and then there's youth.
Well,
yeah, right. So
I've also represented a lot of parents, custody cases, neglect cases, so it's a completely different perspective. The interesting thing, doing some AFC work on the neglect cases, is you've represented a lot of parents. Some of the nonsense you're dealing with, it's easy to ferret out, like, hey, I've represented that person, but also when they're legitimately trying, and making progress, even if it's not 100% where you'd like it to be, recognizing progress being made. I've also seen that, some of the delinquency cases. Our kid finally has some accountability, and it's like, okay, well, they're not going to get it straight overnight.
Right. I mean, really important having those perspectives and point of view. I mean, you also have a diverse background as well legally, as here because you also have criminal law experience, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. When I first moved back, opened my office, did a lot of criminal defense work. Again, dealing with a lot of people. There's a lot of crossover with the criminal and the family court system.
mm,
Neglect case, a lot of times there may be a criminal charge with it. Delinquency cases, they essentially a lot of criminal aspects of that. Um, so when there's that interplay and that connection, it's there's a background on that.
the viewers back home, when you're running for family court judge, there's a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't say. So just want to put it out there. So if I ask a question that you can't tell me, just let me know. But from like a voter's point of view, it's like, okay, you're clearly a lawyer, you have a diverse background. Why do you want to be a judge? Like, what you're doing great in your current role. Why a judge?
I spent a lot of time fighting the system, more of the criminal defense side. Well, actually affected the family court stuff too, with a lot of the the assigned work. We're able to make certain changes kind of collectively to the system where it's an adversarial system. People need to be free to advocate for their clients, do what they're supposed to do. Have been a lot of issues with that. And also, you need to be an attorney for 10 years to run for certain judicial position. So I have the background in the area. Some people have encouraged me to run. I kind of stood up for what was right. I think the ability to stay calm, be empathetic. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of difficult clients. I seem to handle that okay. And I think a lot of it really came from the criminal defense background of just seeing the humanness in people. You're not condoning what they've done. Some people kind of ask, hey, you should run for this. I run against an incumbent, no. Just last year, there were a couple judges retiring. I didn't get the nomination. There was no primary, so it's kind of disappointed I couldn't primary last year. But, this year I got the nomination, and that's true for my opponent and I both. So we kind of early on, we were the two candidates, and we got out there campaigning, and, now we're a few weeks away.
Mm-hmm. But basically, you're qualified for the role. Like you check all the boxes, and other people thought you would be good for it, and they recommend that you should do it, and then you're like, yeah, let me throw my hat in the race. Go for this.
Yeah, progression in the job as well.
Do you think that your military background and experience, and like also working like with Department of Veteran Affairs, like has impacted you in like your decision making, or how like you would help benefit you as being a judge?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I can be pretty firm. I was teaching sign language. My parents are deaf, and I sign. If you see my commercial, you kind of see me signing there. I've done some work as an interpreter, and so church I was going to, I've done this a few times. I'm teaching like a sign language class, and one of the court officers had, the last time I taught it, before that, she was like, hey, when you do it again, I want to take the class. And so she was part of the class, and I had a student, lady was in my church, some of the interaction sometimes you have with your clients, and sometimes people are pulling stunts or getting kind of out of control, or kind of not physically attacking you, but like verbally or whatever. And I think there's that part of you that puts up that wall, or that boundary of like, hey, I'm not going to put up with this or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you kind of laugh. She saw me as this very sweet person, and you don't have that like that. And the court officer's like, yeah, he could be like that. So really the transition over the years has been, I was a sergeant when I got out, and you're always yelling at people, getting yelled at. And that in this setting, it's like, okay, you're very patient with people. It's not like the normal form of communication. So it's, I had one client, I think it was the third attorney before the first appearance, and I think I'd gotten assigned 2 weeks before the court date. I had gotten the flu. So I was out for a week, and then I come back, and it's like, this guy's just going off. I've been calling you like, okay, I just got this case. I've had the flu. I'm still kind of sick. I'm here. And he's just like yelling at the judge and screaming at him, like, you need to, we're outside. I'm like telling him, you need to knock it off. And he tells me, you need to stop yelling at me. Now I got the vein, like, dude, I'm not yelling yet. But I think it's that aspect of dealing sometimes with difficult people, or testing boundaries, and being able to kind of deal with that. and having sometimes some structure and expectations. But again, the difference is this is somebody's case, and if they're not stepping up, that may adversely affect them, but that's really on them. It's not as if I have somebody under me or somebody goes over me, when I'm under them, or it's like, hey, you screw this up, people could die, and you're worried about, this is just, hey, it's,
I mean, you're used to having skin in the game, you know what I mean? So it's,
you advocate for your clients, you want a certain outcome, you want to fight for your clients, but they also have to want to do certain things. So the tough cases where it's close. It's like neglect cases where it's kind of either making progress, not quite there, or it's kind of gray, custody, the gray areas. So the assertiveness and standing up for yourself and fighting for what you believe is right. And also the integrity, the aspect of that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for your service. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier, so my bad. Appreciate it. You had rank, so you got experience, and you can pressure under fire, quote unquote. So that's good. So dealing with
nobody peacetime. Nobody shot at me, so
that's what I said, quote unquote. Pressure under fire, like as a pun on words, play on words. So, but yes, you were never shot at. Thank God. But definitely involved. So you have like that military background. Clearly you're a lawyer, and not only are you a lawyer, you actually are like a small entrepreneur, business owner, and you own your own law firm that you're managing your control of, right? Is that accurate? Right? Did I get?
Yeah.
Awesome. So
more recent years, having somebody or a couple people floating around part-time doing different things. So kind of having a reasonable expectation of what they can and can't do, or finding out, what they can grasp and what is kind of beyond where they're at. Trying to have systems in place so that you're dealing with running a smoother office, trying to minimize issues, with communication or different things where there are times it's very difficult to get a hold of me, if I'm in trial or I got a bunch of court dates, really ebbs and flows. And then the quieter times are when you're kind of catching up on different things. And so having some staffing, it helps, to kind of coordinate appointments.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're definitely you're being an advocate, being outspoken, just seeing issues and wanting to correct them in a positive light. And you definitely have a good grasp of like the actual job itself because you're doing it every day pretty much. So,
yeah.
Which is what we look for in a judge. Like I would hope that the person that's getting elected as judge actually is doing the job every day or has a good grasp of what's going on. So, and you do, and you're qualified and you have the experience. Plus, your background is impressive because you have such a diverse legal background as well. So that gives you a wide perspective, which we talked about. And
I think sometimes people don't. There's areas of law that you practice in, but they don't necessarily exist in a vacuum. And so sometimes things come up, or I would joke with the last time I had a case with Judge Don Serio, Madison County, not Julie Serio here in front of that. Judge Serio, Madison County Supreme Court Justice. And I said, it seems like every case I have with you is some oddball case. And so there's always like a willingness to do that deep dive into something where there isn't a lot of case law. There's not a lot of litigation. So, it's just an oddball thing a lot of people won't necessarily handle. And it's like, I get to do some research. We get to dive into this. And so you have those things come up. You have interplay with other things. So like the criminal defense background with the delinquency cases where the criminal procedure law comes in, or certain just basic search and seizure issues, even though it's a different standard, as far as what rights kids have and privacy, things like that. But what's it, privacy, but just it's not quite the same, but there's definitely a lot of interplay or just certain other things.
Being a judge, it can be very time consuming and challenging, so I hear. But you also are a family man, right? Like you have children, so you understand how it is to be a dad, right? So that background.
A 19-year-old son, yeah.
It can be very stressful, balancing work and life balance. So, but you do have experience being like a family person, which is also, I think, important to bring up because if you're going to be a family court judge, I would hope that the judge has family and children, and understand that experience.
No, it's funny.
So on that.
Well, no, so I would have clients that would, get upset with the AFC, attorney for the child, and they would say, like, how does this person be an attorney for a child? They don't have kids. It's like, it's not really a requirement, but they work with kids. Kind of helps, if you've been around kids. I've also, had to navigate co-parenting, ex-wife and I, divorced a long time. We get along pretty good. There are obviously moments, but so not asking anybody to do something that I haven't had to do myself when it comes to that. Sometimes putting things aside or having to grow, just working with somebody you used to be with and you're not, and you have a kid and you're still in each other's lives. And it's funny, I was asking my son for the commercial, like, hey, you mind if I use this picture? And it said, the picture with your mother and I, you look miserable, but you look like that with your grandparents because you didn't want to take pictures with anybody. Like, do I have to? Like, yeah, it's your graduation. Sorry. So I picked the one he was asking, like, hey, it's because it was his day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like we're driving him nuts, is, I actually had conversations, about the campaign, we were hanging out, games with our son, and just, it's good to get along. And then we had our issues, like, she still got along with my mom really well, which I was pretty thankful for, because I've seen families, like, take sides, and it's like, look, that's not your issue, it's mine and hers, and that's it. And so I was always very thankful for all that.
Well, having that perspective, it's not easy, but having it is definitely needed for the role, because it's like I will never get a tattoo from a tattoo artist who doesn't have tattoos themselves. Like that type of analogy. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the constantly, obviously, you're co-parenting, you're asking everybody to do that.
So you know what it is. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like as in you're in that every day legally, family court and being a lawyer, and you have your own law firm, and you have a military background, so that's why you're grounded and sound, right? Like that's a military flag, right? In the background, right? Is that
yeah, it's from my unit when I was in South Korea. So
South Korea. Nice. Well,
yeah.
Awesome.
Long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah. I know when I was skinnier. I'm not military. No, sorry.
I think a lot of us go through that.
Yeah. But I was thinking more like law enforcement. Like I understand the boot camp, mentality of being skinny.
Yeah.
Like it's fun, hoorah type stuff.
They force me to run all the time, so
yeah, all the time, which is it's good for you. But looking back with all my shin splints.
Yeah, luckily at the time I didn't have that issue. Now it's like touch and go, but
I'm like, is that lump developing under my knee normal, Sarge? Yeah, keep running, Moody. Keep running. Keep running. But yeah. So look, because I know, like, as a family court judge, like I said, you can't talk about certain topics or endorse other. It's like almost political but non-political at the same time, and it's like,
yeah, I can explain
dynamics there.
Yeah, I mean, you basically run on your experience. How you can be fair and unbiased, which a lot of that has to do with, obviously, being unbiased, but what the law is, not what you would like it to be. And a lot of people are thinking about those things. When I talk to them, and I'm like, look, family court, you're really dealing with these core issues. So a lot of the controversial topics they want to know about. I said, look, I'm not. That doesn't come across. It's not really a family court thing, and I try to explain this is why. When you see somebody being considered for the Supreme Court of the United States, I can't answer that because they have the same rules. They can't prejudge a case.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, how am I supposed to know who to vote for? It's like, well, look, this is my background. This is my experience. This is the job. People have been really good about it. I get a lot of like Harris or Trump. And I'm like, listen, running for judge, I'm not allowed to get into that. And it's got me out of a lot of trouble. And they usually laugh, and it's like, and they're good about it. They move on, so.
Yeah, well, you can't talk about it. You're legally hands are tied. You can't talk about it.
People think, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, I guess as a judge, we want you stay focused on that, being nonpartisan. So the state still has you run on party lines, but you're not endorsing a party, not endorsing a platform, things like that. So and then there's certain rules where, like, yeah, it gets, I don't say convoluted, it's just complex. They're trying to balance the need for the judiciary to be unbiased and have the appearance of being unbiased and fair, and at the same time realizing that it's an elected position, it's a political process that you have to go out there, and in this particular state, they have you running on party lines, and so there's kind of an aspect of what you can and can't do, the party can do and can't do, or other candidates. And it seems, there's been some shifts, so it evolves. But by and large, it's simple. This is my experience. This is what I bring to the table. And that's the gist of what they're trying to have us to
try. Right. That's the essence of it. Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe then I can maybe help some of the voters back home get a little more of an understanding of who you are. Could we ask maybe some short questions, like kind of like rapid fire, just kind of like,
Sure.
Yeah, just to kind of get to know who you are as an individual. Even though I know who you are, but people back home don't know who you are.
Well, yeah.
The voters, but I want them to. So,
well, like you're sitting in the valley, I'm in Eastwood here, but back home.
So, what's your favorite restaurant? Can I ask you, like, what's your favorite restaurant that you like to eat in the area?
Well, favorites are tough for me. I like a lot of different things.
So, what was your?
There's a lot of political answers. Just I like food, and I like different food.
What was like the last one that you were at that you enjoyed? I guess, or what style of food? You don't have to like say a place, but like, what do you like to eat when you go out? Do you like Chinese food? Do you like?
Love all of it.
You love them all. Awesome. I used to competitively eat when I was in college. I used to go around.
Kidding.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, I used to go around and compete and eat. Yeah. I like food too.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I've been trying to track, and I started lifting some weights a few years ago, and like tracking food, and it's been like out the window. For the campaign, I'm like, I'm walking more. And I'm like, okay, I'm not burning as much as I thought I was. So, but yeah, so no, it's I like the the variety of food. It's interesting with different cultures, and some things we have common origin. Like pasta. It's like Chinese, Italian. You pasta, but different how what they put with it. Just variety's good. A lot of different. I like different food. I like different.
Awesome.
So, like, hey, what's your this? I'm like,
which would you rather prefer, a truck, a sedan, or a Jeep?
So I drive a very small fuel efficient car, because I'm frugal. So I'm kind of like, plastic gas, like,
Okay. All right. Would you rather go on vacation overseas or have a vacation within the United States?
Yeah, I like both. I haven't had a vacation in forever. I'm self-employed. But I've been overseas, the Army, school, stuff like that, study abroad type stuff. And then seen most of the states in this country. And there's a lot of good things to explore overseas, other countries, a lot of good things to explore in this country. The diversity of scenery in this country, is amazing. I ran into a guy who was canvassing, and he's like, "Hey, I'm moving to Utah." I'm like, it's interesting. I remember driving through there, and like the rock formations and the colors, or the guys in the Army that were from out west. Like, it's so green here. I'm like, what? And I get out there, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It's just from.
Yeah, it's brown over there. Yeah, it's brown.
But it was different too. With the elevation, like, oh, it's going to be this temperature here, and if you're over this many feet, it's that. Where for us, it's all kind of how far north or south you are for the most part. So, Grand Canyon, Gulf of Mexico, like, just there's so many different neat things here, but there's also obviously, getting to go different places. I remember, when I was in Korea, I got to go to like the highest tower in Seoul. The Korean War Museum was kind of neat. They showed some machine gun, they dipped in mud and fire. They're like, why is the M16 like that? It gets dust and it jams, and so, yeah, so I don't know. It's like the food, there's so many good things. It's not really a this or that. It's like, hey, they all have these great things.
Okay. Would you rather eat at home or eat out?
Same thing. Both are good.
Both are good.
Yeah. The one thing in this campaigning is I haven't really cooked. I'm looking forward to getting back to that. I started like boiling pasta the other day. I was just like, I don't have time for this. Versus like, hey, I'm going to put some sauce on in the morning, really just let it simmer, all day. That's, so it'd be nice to get back to that occasionally.
All right. Baseball, Mets or Yankees? If you have to pick between the two.
Oh, shoot. The Bills.
Bills.
Yeah.
Go Bills. Cool. Well, so I would say what, baseball or football, right?
That's my favorite campaign sign is Alan Diggs. Well, one of my favorites,
Hmm.
Alan Diggs 24, or dogs because humans suck, that kind of thing.
Well, I guess, all in all, like, thank you for that. A little candor back and forth, to get people kind of like an idea of who you are back home, because since, your hands are tied on what you can and can't say. Um,
Yeah.
but, but I guess, could I ask you why you think you would be a good judge? Like, I guess, like, or is that something that you can go over or detail?
Yeah.
Or
Well, I mean, there's different aspects of it. Obviously the experience in family court dealing with, adults and kids,
hmm
the practical things that they're going through and the law doesn't exist in a vacuum. And especially in family court, there's a lot of day-to-day stuff that you're dealing with whether it's custody exchanges, whether it's people getting services in the neglect cases, are they seeing their kids, stuff like that. But then there's also you need to have some patience. I think the judge, they're in this position of power where um, you got to be cognizant of that, not letting people kind of get to you or like, hey, you're ultimately the decision maker and they may not like the decision, but, um, it's very important to I think for people to have been heard. Not everybody's going to feel like they've been heard, but if they, objectively, they've had their chance to kind of speak and present their side of what's going on. Um, I had a lot of clients, sometimes things wouldn't go our way and I think they were happy that I just at least advocated for them and that they were heard. And I think it's very important to the legitimacy of the system, people trusting that the judge may not have seen it the way they were trying to be fair versus being out to get them. Some people, no matter what happens, they think everybody's out to get them or
hmm
there's something to do. So, you have to have some objective sense of these things, and so when I talk about having like patience and empathy and accountability, I, a few months ago, it's been maybe a little more, a few months ago now, I was coming out of the courtroom. There was a neglect case and they were terminating my client's parental rights towards one of his children. And the mother of the child had for 3 years had not been around, and the county had actually gotten her served and she showed up, but she'd already kind of defaulted. And so we're coming out of the courtroom and she's got some choice words to say to my client and she hadn't been in there. And I don't know how she got this drink in. I don't usually let you bring something in, but she stays outside the courtroom. And so she takes this cup and she chucks it at him, and it like grazes my pant leg and smashes against the wall. She's calling him some words. So she gets arrested and stuff. And I use that as an example because despite 3 years of her not being involved with her kid, just kind of drug issues, she's still losing her right to be mom.
Yeah.
And that's painful. And so a lot of times we look at people's behavior, the situation, it's very easy to judge somebody and say like, what's wrong with you? Or it's like, no matter how much somebody has screwed up or messed it up, it's like, it's still their child. And so you're not going to not terminate parental rights in that particular case with her where it's like, okay, dad was different. Like we were fighting a lot of things. And it's one of those cases where, again, it was close. However you see it, I can't get into that, but with mom in that case, it was very clear. And she's still losing your right to be mom. And that now this kid can, it's not like she can't find her when she's older, but it's still a painful thing. There's a lot of emotions in play. And I think you need to be cognizant of that and try to remain calm and empathetic. And you're seeing people often at their worst. And so getting them some leeway, some slack, I would have people get upset around me and that was okay. But there was always a line of like, look, if you're attacking me, I obviously have the right to stand up for myself. We're going to have that conversation, but not getting threatened by them getting upset. And then you get some people, it's, most people, the way it was described to me when I first started, kind of on my own doing some of the assigned work, you're seeing good people at their worst. And not everybody necessarily fits that description, but a lot of people do. And so even if somebody's maybe not so good or they've screwed things up, there is that empathy. You obviously get those cases where somebody's like an evil person and they're abusing like kids or they're doing bad things, and that's a different or a different situation. But it's so by and large, a lot of the stuff that you see, it's people, in their humanness and in their brokenness or whatever. So you want to be cognizant of that. And I think that's the aspect that people, I think, see in me, that are supporting me, that are saying, look, you're good with that. You're good at like getting these things across to people, to advocate for them, to stand up. I had a recent case, or it's still open. I'm attorney for the child, and there were issues with my newborn client, gaining weight. And mom's like, well, I was up for 5 days, that's why it's like, yeah, but you also, heroin addict. And so it was still like, hey, look, she was making an effort. And I at least want to acknowledge some of the effort and some of the openness about the drug use. So it was like, look, you're doing, there are some positives here, even though I was absolutely advocating for like removal of the child or the continued removal until certain things happen. But there's a difference between being judgmental and saying, hey, this isn't okay. We need to do this. And these are the things you need to do to get your child back. And that's the essence of, say, like a neglect case, or, and sometimes you do have to call people out, they're pulling stunts or they're saying things. So there's that balance,
Yeah. Well, definitely clearly focus on children's rights and their well-being, and looking at all the different angles.
Well, yeah, I mean, the standard for all these cases is what's in the best interest of the child. Also when you get to custody, it's like what's in the best interest. Even neglect, it's still, it's family court you're dealing with. Yeah.
Well, look, we're coming definitely to the end of our show, of our time. So before we break, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or put a spotlight on or bring attention to, which you just didn't get a chance to mention today?
No, I mean, it's, I think we covered, been, doing this for some time, doing a lot of family court work, a lot of the aspects of what you experience in family court, what it's about. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, election day is around the corner. It's early voting's already out. No, it should be. Well, November 5th.
The absentees are out. I think people are voting absentee. I think early voting's
the golden day, 26, right? October 26th is the last day to register and the vote. Well, anyhow, it's around the corner. We're in October. So get out there and vote for sure. And just let everyone back home know exactly what position and role that you're running for, so they know where to vote for you.
Family court judge.
Easy.
Countywide.
Countywide. Family court judge. It's on the line. Very easy. Awesome. Well, Jason, great honor to have you on the show today. Very privileged and grateful, humbled to have you on the show. You definitely have a good grasp of what you're doing. And much success in your campaign this around the corner, and see what happens in a couple of days. But until then, I still want to give a big shout out to Momentous Media Group, the official sponsor of the Salt City Index for Season 2. I'm your host, Mo Moodie, and thanks for tuning in. Jason, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, everyone back home, have a great day. Be well.